Mr. Ambassador, we talk a lot about disinformation in the context of our domestic politics, but the stakes feel a lot higher. And it was notable that U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said basically what Habib just said, that Hamas uses civilians as human shields, quote, to hide their weapons amid them, to hide themselves amid them. That is not what Israel does. Israel does not target civilians. That even needed to be said was notable to me. Tell me your thoughts and your reaction to the day's events and the Secretary of State's visit.
Thank you, Nicole. Well, firstly, let me reiterate what my friend Haviv said. And the pain, the agony, the shock, we're still deeply within it. And that if I had to think of some maybe agonizing silver lining to this whole experience, pardon the oxymoron, is that we came into this crisis as a deeply divided society, divided over political issues, divided ethnically, divided along religious lines, even geographic lines. And for better or for worse, Hamas has reunited us, has reminded us of who we are as a nation, as a people, and I think even as a family. We can disagree. But when it comes to life and death and defending our families, we are going to stick together and we're going to defend this country in the best way we know how and in the most moral way we know how. As the Air Force is preparing literally the ground for perhaps an infantry and armored incursion into Gaza, the Air Force is dispensing leaflets. We are sending SMS signals. We are using these non-explosive missiles that hit the top of buildings and let the inhabitants of those buildings flee an area of intended combat. So that is crucial. We're going to do the utmost to avoid civilian casualties. But as again, Secretary Blinken has said, and many other officials said, we are dealing with an enemy that is going to use its population as a human shield, and it's going to use the hostages as human shields, Israeli hostages and American hostages, which is going to be morally, to say nothing of logistically, complex. We were very deeply moved by the president's message of 2 nights ago. I have been in the field of U.S.-Israel relationship for many decades now, both as an historian and as a practitioner in those relationships, and I could not recall a speech so impassioned, so from the heart. A man who has experienced personal loss of a wife and 2 children, who connected that pain to our pain, who unequivocally supported the state of Israel, right to defend itself, and categorically condemned terror. And then, frankly, Nicole, went far beyond what I ever thought a president at this stage in American history was capable of doing. He pledged American power at a time when virtually the only issue that receives bipartisan support in Congress is the opposition to further Middle East military entanglements, right? It's not, that is what we call in Washington a very, very heavy lift, moving naval assets into the Middle East, and saying, to Iran, to Hezbollah, don't get involved. That message was extremely important to us. It was reiterated by the Secretary of State today during his visit. And we also got the message that the United States, expects us to act according to the rules of the law, as the United States does. And what both the president and the secretary were saying was, between the lines, is help us to help you. That the more caution you exercise with the civilian population, we'll be able to help you more.
Can you, ending Hamas, eliminating Hamas is clearly one of the goals of whatever the response is. But, if you know the leaders that carried out the attack, is it not also to eliminate the leadership of Hamas that may not all be geographically located where everyone is expecting the first moves? Can you speak to what the retaliation will look like and how wide it will range?
Well, I think the retaliation that we've already received, that we had a preemptive retaliation by Hamas. A big question, Nicole, is that if we and when we enter Gaza on the ground, the question is what's going to happen with Hezbollah to the north. Whether Hassan Nasrallah, the head of Hezbollah, will watch this incursion and continue sipping tea in Beirut, or will he unleash a military power which is many times that of Hamas? Hamas may be 15, 20,000 rockets at the most. Hezbollah has 150,000 rockets, many of them quite accurate, great number of them buried under some 200 villages in southern Lebanon. It has a military force which has been fighting in Syria now for a decade, very experienced. Then Israel will be faced with at least a two-front war. It could be more if there are upheavals in Judea and Samaria, which you call the West Bank, some even upheavals among radical elements of Israel's Arab population. Israel's geared for a haul, but it's going to be tremendously challenging for us and costly. But I think Haviv would agree with me. We have no choice at that now. We actually have to pursue this. We want to uproot Hamas from the Gaza Strip. It is very important that we engage in an intimate discussion with our American allies, with our Arab allies now, about the day after. Not too early to do that. We don't want, at the end of this operation, to be sort of holding the keys to Gaza. We would need an international effort to rebuild the Strip, to develop the Strip, to promote an alternative leadership, a peaceful leadership for Gaza. Gaza has tremendous potential, agricultural. It could be, as we say, the Riviera of the Mediterranean, but not under the leadership of a Hamas terrorist organization.
Haviv and Michael, I know both of you care the most about the people and the victims and their surviving family members, and that's been the focus of my friend and colleague Ali Velshie's extraordinary reporting since he's been on the ground. Ali.